Welcome to the BuyBox Experts podcast. We bring to light the unique opportunities brands face in today's e-commerce world.
Hey, welcome to the BuyBox Experts podcast. This is Eric Stopper. Today's episode is brought to you by BuyBox Experts. BuyBox Experts takes ambitious brands and makes them unbeatable. We've got a team of consultants. I am one of them. Come and talk to us. You're probably doing something wrong, or you may be doing everything right. Sometimes it's good just to have a little bit of validation. Come to our website, buyboxexperts.com. Click on the free analysis button. You'll be connected with me or a member of my team, and we will help you identify low-hanging fruit and maybe some high-hanging fruit that you want to start shooting for. buyboxexperts.com. Today, I am very pleased to be joined by Dale Magers, founder and CEO of Venture Anyway, a unique coaching program that he has developed while working and consulting with business owners all over the United States. He built an e-commerce company that he sold in 2016. He got it to $10 million in revenue. Dale is hardcore. You can read about his 7-day only water fasting process that he went through. It's amazing the things that he's been able to accomplish, the charged life that he lives. He's here to help you slay the dragons that are impacting your business. Dale, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so give us the rundown of Venture Anyway, right? And let's keep in mind the context of who we're talking to, because the majority of the folks that listen to this podcast are selling on Amazon, right? These are business owners. These are VPs of marketing. These are account managers, and they come to work and they want to do well at work, but they also want to do well in life. And I understand that you kind of operate at the intersection of those two things. So give us the rundown of what Venture Anyway is up to.
Perfect. Yeah. And I think this audience, more than most, is the type of person that I'm trying to become and embody, and that I'm focusing on with Venture Anyway. The idea of the brand is that a lot of us have great ideas and we want to do things, but we get held up for one reason or another. And I wanted to create a message and a brand around, well, you have all these excuses not to, but let's just, we've got one shot. You just need to take that chance and you need to go forward. So a lot of my focus while I was building BikeWagon, the company that I built, was creating a company that was more than just a job, that was more than something that just gave me money, but that gave me freedom. So I really try to help entrepreneurs see that, yes, they're capable of making a lot of money. Yes, they're capable of building a business, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of a lot of the other things they care about.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to touch a little bit on BikeWagon, right? This was a few years ago. We're talking about 4 years ago. You sold this company to Level 9, and you came with the deal, right? So you transitioned kind of with the company that you were selling to them, which is pretty typical, right? So on this podcast in the past, we've talked about selling your company and what that looks like. Listeners, you should probably be prepared to come with that deal for a little while. So don't just think that as soon as you've built it, you're out. Like, you want to kind of send your baby off in the right way. So you started in 2000. When did the company start?
I'd been selling on eBay since 99, but the company kind of officially started in 2004.
Okay. And give us the story, right? So you found these, they're like a little wagon, like a little seat behind the bike, right?
No.
So tell us all about it.
Do you want the quick minute
Please.
long?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I, no business plan, no idea into getting into business, but I ran into a store that sold salvage freight and saw that other people were selling online. And I think like a lot of us were like, well, I could probably do that. So maybe that's why we get into things sometimes. And that was my story. So I started selling salvage freight, items that were shipped and lost in the mail. And I was mostly buying sporting goods because that's what I was familiar with. And I did that casually for a few years, made a couple $1,000s a month profit, when I was 21, 22. And then I got my dad involved, and then we started selling bike parts exclusively. 2004 or 5, we went from $250K in revenue to 480, just under $1 million, 1.5, 2.8.
And just
4,
kept on
6
kept on
million, 8
growing to 10
million.
million. Yeah. At what point did Level 9 get interested?
We'd had conversations years before I sold. We were actually, it was interesting. I've had a lot of, I made it a point to have conversations with everybody for the most part, and everything was always on the table. Different businesses, people that might be interested in buying my company, companies that I might be interested in buying. And that was one of those conversations that they were acquired. And then a year after they were acquired, they were pretty serious about growing their brand and going about their plan. They've since bought Second Track Sports. They've done a pretty good job rolling up a few companies. And, it was about, it was about a year after we started having conversations.
Okay. Wow, man. So that actually doesn't seem like that long, right? A year to sell your 11-year baby, or even longer than that, actually. Mm-hmm. So you've talked to me about your process of how you coach these business owners, these just people that come to you looking to get to the next step, right? Is it typically they feel like they're stuck and they're not able to push their business forward or push themselves forward? Like what is the scenario in which somebody should come and start talking to you and take your mastermind course?
Yeah. I think sometimes stuck, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially if we have one great business, we may not be in a mindset to receive coaching while we're on the way up. So a lot of times I'll talk to people who have maybe been up and down a few times, or they're on the way up and they've gone down, or they're just looking for, maybe not stuck, but they're looking for other ways to kind of fire on all cylinders. So mostly I'm dealing with really motivated people that are open to, hey, I'm doing my best. I'm totally willing to work. I just need to know other things, other tactics I can use to push harder. That's a lot of the people that I work with.
So give me a flavor. I very much feel, I manage 4 brands of my own. I consult for BuyBox Experts. I develop AI on the side, right? Like I've got all these things going for my personal life. What are some of the things that you would recommend to somebody like me to push it to the next level, right? To be able to add greater efficiency into my life, add more meaning into my life. Where would you start with me?
Yeah. So I would say the process that I take people through, and it's no secret, I have no secret process. We start really big picture and you say, what do you actually want? And, identify your purpose, get clear on your values, and then create goals that are aligned with those. And then we talk about routines, and then we talk high management, right? That's the quick 20-second blurb. So I would ask you, what are your goals? What do you really want to achieve? And are you happy with the current way that you're achieving it? Are you content now with what you have? Or do you have different angst of I'd really like to have this, or man, if this thing happens, then I'm going to be pretty jazzed, or man, I can't wait until this takes off. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us entrepreneurs perpetually live in that arena of, and we're going to be happy when this next thing happens.
Sure.
So what I help entrepreneurs with is trying to create a process that they can be really happy with, that helps them achieve all of those things, but they can go to bed at night thinking, hey, I followed the plan. I followed my process. I feel pretty great about things. Even though this thing didn't hit yet, I'd look at how much time you spent on distracted type FOMO items. How often do you go back to social media? How often are you changing focus? What type of routines do you have? I'd ask, man, do you have time every single day where you don't have to be doing something so you can have creative time, right? Do you have a free time in your day every single day where you're not just going from meeting to meeting to meeting? I think there's a lot of creativity that comes when you have that.
And that can come just in a short walk, right? You're not saying that you need to walk out a whole hour of your day, or how long should it be when
I think you should block out at least an hour every day.
Okay.
So I spent an hour, I had to leave at 5:15 this morning, and I had 45 minutes, so I rode for 20 minutes, and watched a movie with French subtitles, listening in Portuguese. Like I consider myself a linguist. I'm trying to learn a lot of languages. So I watch a movie and I row every morning, but that's just a time for me to unwind. And then I spent another 20 minutes just reviewing my goals and my day and not doing anything.
Is exercise, right? Does that count, right? If I just go to the gym and I'm just throwing around heavy weight, like am I giving myself that time? Because I feel like I'm very much tunnel vision focusing on the exercise. I don't feel very creative when I'm at the gym. So is that like in a different category of its own that should factor in?
One thing, what was it? It was like the theory of displacement or something, or the law of Archimedes discovered one of these famous laws and principles while in the bathtub. And they talk about how, a lot of people say, wow, I get my best ideas in the shower, or I get my best ideas while on a run. While your mind's busy, or while you're busy doing something, you can have these different insights and ideas.
Serendipity, yeah. You just
so I've gone on a lot of these bike tours, for months at a time or weeks at a time. And it's amazing how many good ideas I've had while not trying to have good ideas. So I think when we're totally, we're consumed all the time. Like we can be so plugged in where our mind we can never be bored if we don't want to. And I think, and there's a lot of studies out there that are saying that we need to have time programmed in. That's why you take breaks during the day and you do different things like that to be more creative.
So let's poise this for our listeners, right? Let's help them understand, maybe they're listening to this at work. By the way, you are beautiful and you are doing great right now. If you're listening to this, wow, look at all the things that you got accomplished today. And if you're listening to this in the morning, you are going to have a great day. Just a little love for you for listening. Thank you, by the way. So put this in context, right? I'm a business person. I'm working at this company. I'm trying to hustle. I'm doing my thing. And I sell on Amazon, and Amazon stresses me out. I got sent to seller performance last week. I was late on some shipments. FBA lost some of my stuff. My sales are kind of consistent. My efficiency is going down a little bit. There's Chinese manufacturers. My manufacturer everyone is over there suffering with the coronavirus, and Chinese New Year got extended, right? So I'm stressed about my logistics. So help me distill all this down, because a lot of those things that I just said are very real, and they're things that have been brought up to me this week. So what would you tell these executives, not even executives, just business people that want to do a good job and they want to do better, but there's all these things being thrown at them specifically in e-commerce?
So I would say that you're an entrepreneur and we've chosen the path of having consistent problems in our life. There will always be a new problem in the business. And I think being an entrepreneur is being in the business of solving problems. So there are things that you can control and there are things that you can influence. So, I love the surfing analogy, right? Like you can train and do everything you can do to be an amazing surfer, but you have to rely on finding the right breaks and on the waves. You can influence yourself on which beach you go to, in which season and everything else, but you can't control it. So I think there's a big difference between taking the things you can control and controlling them and doing your best. And then all that stuff that you can't control, that you can maybe only influence, you just have to realize that's the case and just do your best with it.
I think that's a perfect segue into an idea that you've shared with me, in that it's this kind of process over results. Explain kind of the thinking behind this, and I have a bone to pick, and so let's talk about all this.
Well, so it's that idea that you can't control everything. You can't control Amazon, for example, right? Like there's so many things that you cannot control the results of Amazon. Amazon is consistently changing. So if you always base your success on your launch, and if that's where you're basing your self-worth, if that's where you're basing your mood when you go home to your family, if that's how you base your mood in the office or with your friends, then that's going to be a rough life. Where if you say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an amazing entrepreneur. So I'm going to create processes in my life as an entrepreneur that are going to make me amazing. I'm going to manage my time well. I'm going to create time where I can be creative. I'm going to network. I'm going to find great partners. I'm going to check. Whatever all those things are, you're going to focus on those processes that you think will make you amazing at your specific business, right? You're going to study for an hour a day, and listen to podcasts and so you can stay on top of the trend. And then you do the best with that knowledge that you have. And then when you do everything you can, you're not as affected. You can't pay as much attention to, it didn't work as well today. Because if you focus too much on the results, there's a lot of us who have had amazing success without focusing as much on the things we can control. There are a lot of people who have gotten into a business once and killed it, but they didn't have to try all that hard. They didn't have to manage their time. They didn't have to find mentors. They just, tapped into a vein when it worked really well. It's going to be hard for them to replicate that in business after business after business, where if you focus on the process, then you can start business, sell business, you can just keep going. And does that make sense?
Let me take a step back, because I think a lot of the first thought that comes to mind for me is sometimes the person listening here they're not the boss. They're working for somebody, and but they want to do good at their job, and they maybe have a side hustle where they also sell on Amazon, right? They're managing the Amazon presence or the marketing for their company, and they happen to do something on the side. So in a relationship between like an employee and an employer, or a boss and one of the members of the team, results are everything, right? Like the performance reviews for the folks listening are very much numbers driven, right? Did you do X? Did you generate this amount of dollars? Was it on par with what you were projecting for this month, right? If you're a salesperson, were you able to write as many listings as everybody else on your team? What was the accuracy rating? Like, it's all very numbers, results driven. So is this philosophy less for the interactions that we have in our workplace and more for personal success metrics?
No, I think it's for everything. I think it's for business, for anything. Even with sales, are you going to focus on getting in front of 5 qualified leads or clients, or that focus on, no, we needed to sell 100K, or whatever? You can focus on, you need to have, the process needs to be focused with things that work, that deliver results, right? But you can, or it's like physical fitness in the gym. You're going to identify the 7 tactics and strategies to become really fit. Mm-hmm. Right? And then you're going to put metrics to them and quantify what that looks like. And then you're going to execute that and trust that the results will come.
Right. Because I'm thinking, and this is going to be really granular, and I know that you are by no means like an Amazon advertising expert. But if I set my metrics, I want to make 10 grand this month on this product line. And at the end of the month, I go to the person who I'm accountable to, and I say, hey, I followed the process really well, and I did the process of keyword isolation, and I went out and I did research in Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, and I put in new keywords into our listings, and it just didn't work. We didn't hit the 10K. I'm wondering how someone is to posture that in their conversations in their workplace to really get buy-in on the process side of things. Right? Because in that scenario, me as the person who's holding the person accountable, I would say, oh, then why? First of all, why'd you set that goal? It must not be a realistic goal. And then the second thought that I have is, okay, well, if it is realistic, then why didn't you hit it? Right? If these processes really are the main meat of what is going to drive the results, then why didn't it work? Talk to me about this.
Well, so have you ever missed a target?
All the time. All the time.
Well, and I think a lot of us have, right? We have like, hey, wait, this launch only got 7 reviews. Yeah. Where the last one, they got a 70. What's going on? We followed the same we followed the same thing, right? How often have people created goals or targets without a defined process behind it to achieve it?
I think probably all the time, right? Anytime there's something I want, right, I usually say, oh, like this is a goal. And then maybe I don't go through the process of setting up all of those, what'd you call them? Habits? That was one of the lower levels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Creating a routine or process
routine, that's what
something that would generate that result.
And so the goals that you set, right? The results that you set with the people that you're coaching, do they ever change after they've gone through and meticulously mapped out what their routine has to look like in order to hit that goal? Do they ever say like, oh, wow, it's not realistic and I should change?
I would think it would be very fluid. So the idea is there are a lot of people that make, goals and New Year's resolutions, for example, right? I think that in general, people would be way more successful if they created and stuck to New Year's processes or something, right? Where you say, like, last year, I really wanted, I wanted to be more like Wolverine, right? Hugh Jackman, Wolverine. I'm like, I need to be maybe not quite as ripped, but I want to be more fit. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, specifically, what are the things that Wolverine would be able to do? And go along with me there. And I think, well, okay, probably like, I want to be able to run a mile in, 5:30. Okay. And I think I was at 6 minutes or something at the time. I want to be like, it'd be cool to be able to do a backflip. Like I can do it on the diving board and the trampoline. Like it'd be cool to be able to go like do it on the ground. And I made a few goals, but then from that, I said, okay, great. What are the tactics that I need to employ to be able to turn me into that person? Right. So I said,
okay,
well, I need to, go to the adult gymnastics class, right, on Wednesdays for an hour. I need to do this, do that, do the other. And I just created the process. So I went to adult gymnastics for like 3 weeks and I was doing a backflip, right?
Wow.
But a lot of times we set these goals and we set the result that we want, but we don't really break down into what needs to happen. So I would say that if I were managing that employee that you told me about in that scenario in the ads, I'd actually prefer him to say, look, I missed the target this month. Here's my exact process and what I follow. Manager, how would you change that for me? Or what do we need to do? This is the winning scenario. And obviously they may not be winning tactics anymore because Amazon's policies changed and you can't get reviews this way anymore, or whatever changed. So I would love to see the processes mean that you have some of the mechanics built in to generate, the machine's built to generate some sort of result.
I would assume that most people are pretty poor at determining which processes actually are necessary to get them to the goal that they have set, right? Like going back to the gym example, for instance, I would say that a really consistent goal that people have is to lose weight, right? And then they don't realize that there's this. I mean, you're going to win in the kitchen, right? They start going to the gym for a while, and then they don't realize that there's this whole other side of things that they have to be considering. And so, how would you help all of the folks who are listening that want to be better business owners, understand the things that they might be missing, right? Like how do you check your blind spots and really develop good processes in the tasks that you're doing each day?
So pretty broad question as far as, so what could we dive into? So I do these mastermind classes with groups of entrepreneurs, right? And we'll get together for 90 minutes every other week and we read different books. We have conversations around those topics I laid out earlier: purpose, goals, habits, time management. One of the words that we probably say more than anything else is the word deliberate. So a lot of times we're not very deliberate about our strategy. How often do you get on calls with people that you're not really sure the outcome and you probably won't be working with them, but you're going to give them half an hour or an hour of your time? Or how how often do you, what do you do the first hour that you wake up? What do you like? Really breaking down exactly where you're investing your time. I have people go through an exercise I call a time inventory, where you take a piece of paper and every 15 minutes just write down exactly what you're doing. A lot of times, how often have you done? So for all of us, there's high energy tasks and low energy tasks. Like this, for me, a podcast talking with you, this is super enjoyable. Like I love it. I would do it all day. This is a very low energy task for me, right? My high energy times are during the morning. I would never, ever plan such enjoyable things in the morning when I'm so like focused and ready to do hard things, right? But a lot of times we give up our prime time of the day to other things. Like that's just a very simple thing where you can take different efficiency ideas like that to really make a big impact. So, and then if you're an employee, you can train your coworkers and your boss around those types of things. And if you're that guy that is so honed in on what you're doing and what makes you effective and how to get more done, people are going to want to get out of your way and even emulate some of the stuff you're doing.
Right. So you can make an impact on a broader level by applying some of these very, very simple practices into your daily life.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get more specific, because I think that's going to help a lot of the people who are on here. So one really specific result that I want to achieve is I want my earplug brand, right, to make $10,000 in a single month. And I go through all the processes that we have, that we've built out, right? I do my keyword research. I adjust my advertisements every like three days to maybe every week or so, just depending on the time. And I've gone through, I've made a lot of really great pictures and graphics, and I've made my listing beautiful. And I've gone through and I've identified the competitors that are closest to me. And I have put my ad budgets high enough that a $10,000 goal is not out of reach, right? So maybe I spend $1,000 to $2,000 a month on my ads. So with that specific scenario, is there a way to distill all these different tasks and to find new processes that I might be missing in order to help improve the performance and get to my goal?
Yeah. Okay. So I love the example, right? And so I use a framework that I call HATS. And you basically outlined what that is. So you said, and HAT stands for hope, achievable outcomes, tactics, and specifics. So your achievable outcome is to sell $10,000 in a month, right? The hope would be why you even want to do that. So like going up above that, say
Sure.
why,
I want to buy toys for my kid. That's really the main thing. Yeah.
So that's the hope. You want to be able to you want to have enough money to spend money for your kids. So you want to do 10 grand, and to make it more specific, you want to net, I don't know how much you want to net. You want to net 1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a month, whatever that is. Right. So that's what you want to be your net margin
right.
So you have your hope. You want to buy toys for your kids. You have your achievable outcome. You want to sell 10K. You want to make this amount of profit. Because as we know, sales, especially on Amazon and e-commerce, don't always mean profit and money in the bank.
Sure.
So you're not taking home 10K. So then you get to tactics. You said, well, I'm spending this much. I'm doing I've got I'm watching my spend. I'm doing the keyword research. I'm doing, and you outlined the 5 things that you're doing, right? And then specifics are, I'm reviewing those keywords or the ad budgets, every X amount of days. You're really specifying how you're handling all those tactics. If that's not working, then you need to work on the mix of tactics and the specifics associated with them.
Okay.
So it's the same thing with, I want to live to see my grandkids. I need to lose, hope. I need to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to go to the gym, talk to the trainer and eat a nutritionist. I'm going to do it X amount of times. If that doesn't work, you kind of have to go back to that tactic space and see, okay, it didn't work. I only got to $8,000. What are other tactics that I can employ? And do I need to change the frequency of those tactics?
Is the issue ever with the hope part of it, right? Like maybe you really don't want to live to see your grandkids as much as you think that you do. You know what I mean? Like, is it ever a miscalculation of what your actual overarching motivation is?
I think we're all completely misaligned with who we want to be and who we actually are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
ideal self versus actual
you
self.
know, it's that, and not completely in this crazy, like, we're all failures, but there's always, I guess it depends in certain cases, like, yeah, do you really want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many of us we're like, we're going to be more fit this year, and then we're just not.
Right. I wonder how many of the people listening are thinking, why am I even in this? Right? Like, why am I pushing so hard? Why am I moving these pixels around every day to make more money when I'm already pretty much happy? Right? And so for the folks who are listening right now, who want to apply these practices and have just a better life in general, what is the first thing that you would have them do today? Something that they could go home and they can write down a list, or they can, you know, give their wife a big hug, or, you know, whatever it is. What's the encouragement that you would give them today?
So I would say that it's creating goals for yourself, and with that model, thinking, okay, what's the big picture? And this is basically by role, you know, different life roles, whether that's business, personal, you know, physical, whatever. And creating, a lot of times when you create those types of goals, it puts things into perspective better and builds out some of that motivation when you have a plan. A lot of times people don't change because they don't believe in the process that it will be easier for them once they've achieved it, right? There's all this information out there, but we stay the same because we're not that motivated. But if you see $100 sitting in the road across the street, you're going to cross the street and pick it up because you believe that you can make it there and pick it up.
Sure.
Right. I think the goal setting process is really powerful.
Hats. So hopes, achievable outcomes, tactics, and specifics.
Yeah.
I think that's a useful framework that everyone should just go and apply. And Dale, you have a mastermind course, right? You have this coaching system that you have. How do people become a part of it? How do they get a hold of you?
So it's on my website, ventureanyway.com, and there's a mastermind tab /mastermind. And maybe I can get you the link to put it on there.
Absolutely.
So they can apply there. I run one. I'm starting a new one every 2 months. I bring 10 people in. And I also have another link that I'll give you that takes people through their action taker personality profile. Mm-hmm. It's a simple quiz where I give a result based on that HATS model and then have a series of emails that goes after. That's free. That's probably the best way to engage with me now. Okay,
perfect. So go to ventureanyway.com, go to the mastermind tab. There's actually 2 pieces in here. There's the outdoors and the e-commerce mastermind. Are those different?
So we're running 2 special ones right now. I'm doing a partnership with Spencer Arnston, actually.
Cool.
He's getting so there's a lot of people in the Utah outdoor industry that are getting together for a mastermind. And then we've got one specifically for e-commerce.
Okay. Awesome.
So starting in the next couple weeks. So actually time is short there. And I think there's space in both of them at the moment.
That sounds excellent. So if you're looking for help getting to the next level, to slay the dragons of your business and your personal life, go to ventureanyway.com, go and talk with Dale, and he will help you out. Dale, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the BuyBox Experts podcast. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.